Ever get taken with the what ifs of life? Like, what if you had made a different decision? What if you had gone in a different direction? What if you had gone up to that person that you were terrified of seeing if they would be interested? What if you left a relationship earlier than you actually had? What if you had gone to a different country that you were having dreams of going to but were too scared to do? What if you stayed home and didn't travel? There are so many what ifs in life, and they can be intriguing but also kind of frustrating and can make us think that there are wrong and right moves in life, and that sometimes we can make mistakes, and that once we choose that path, it's done. But there is another world, the quantum world, that has a different theory. Has, the quantum physics, metaphysics, has this idea that there are different dimensions actually in our lives, different dimensions that are going on at the same time that we are in this one, and that some of those dimensions have versions of us, versions of us that made the what if decision that we're wondering about right now. Like, what if I had stayed in England after doing my teaching degree in England? There could be a Taslim version, a version of me, Taslim, in England still, or living out the life that she would have lived if she had stayed in England. I thought I wanted to become an architect after, preparing through university. And I love the idea that there could be a Taslim out there, a version of me that is an architect somewhere. There could be a Taslim out there that has kids and is married and possibly divorced. Like, who knows? I'm not saying all these things in terms of like, oh, I wish I had done that, or I wish I didn't make that mistake or whatever. For me, they're not necessarily mistakes. And in fact, the reason that I can get kind of excited and intrigued more about them is this idea that it doesn't really matter, because there is a version out there of me that did those things. There is a version of me that had more confidence in my dancing, or in playing piano when I was younger, or in being sporty, and is doing all those things. I was really into art when I was younger, and I did a lot of painting and drawing, and I stopped doing that. But there's a version of me that's out there, like, painting up a storm. I think probably quite literally. And there's this phenomenon out there called quantum jumping, where people have been known to access these different aspects of themselves, these different twins. If I don't know if they're considered twins, because I feel like there's more than, like, if there are all these different aspects of our lives, there's going to be more than two. And to me, twin is like a second version. But I feel like there are all these different versions of us that are out there, like the painter, the architect, the wife, like the sporty one. There are all these aspects of me that I could be that is living in another dimension. And it's not just a fanciful, like, oh, that's kind of fun to think about. I mean, you could just stop there. But people are actually using this as a way to tap into those aspects of themselves. There are people out there who have been known to, like, be part of the original growing into this quantum jumping idea, who in their 50s, 60s suddenly started playing piano like they had been born to do it, or became like, it wasn't even creative things like business minded when they didn't have that mindset before, and they didn't go out and start studying it all of a sudden. It wasn't like they put all their hours and time that they had left in those years to do that. It was that they literally got into this like state of like almost a meditative state, and visualized what this aspect of them, how they were living, what it felt like, tapped into that version of them, and then could, what to other people looked like miraculously, play the piano like a genius pianist, or paint, or write, or do these incredible things that, especially at an older age, people would say like would be impossible to just suddenly be able to do. And this phenomenon is getting more popular, but it's actually existed for a very long time. And I think that phrasing of the term quantum jumping has now become something that people are just jumping on, literally, in like TikTok and online. But it's actually an idea, like it's actually something that people have been using for a very long time. And I feel like dance, for me, represents an ability to, it's like an embodiment of quantum jumping. Because the things that people end up being able to do in dance oftentimes look superhuman. Like, it looks like miraculous. People that are shy, like, even when I think of people like that were really famous, like Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, I don't know, those two come into my head pretty quick, because when you hear them speak or see them like just talking in everyday life, they look quite shy and soft-spoken, and then all of a sudden they become this like whole other superhero, quantum connected, like, artist that blows our minds, literally. Like, and the way that they dance and move, like, I feel like they're really tapping into the quantum, like they're tapping into this quantum jumping idea, and that version of them that we know, that have been on stages, and like, people copy their moves now. Like, I remember trying to do like Janet Jackson moves when I was young, like trying to mimic her videos and stuff. Like, that version of them is one version in all these dimensions that we know of, that we see, but there are other versions of Michael Jackson that were existing. There were other versions of Janet Jackson. There were other versions of all these people that seem to be doing like really high, like reaching high heights that look like human beings shouldn't be able to do it, but they can. And I feel like something about dance like lets us tap into different versions of ourselves, like whether it's the flowy, graceful, like, we just look like this divine essence, like floating around on a dance floor, or it could be like really tapping into like grungy, into the earth, like really like soulful type dancing. And or there could, like, there are hip hop artists that break dancers that do things that, like, I don't feel like even the human body should be capable of doing, but they are capable of doing it. And in one person, that one person can tap into all these versions of themselves and show that on stages, on dance floors, through their body, through their expression. To me, that is like an aspect of, that is like showing the power of what, that dance can actually help us tap into all these versions of ourselves in one life, in one, like the version of a dancer that we know of can show all those aspects of themselves through that one dimension. Whereas other people have to try to go to so many different dimensions to tap into their artist or their, like, you know, the one that is a little bit more fierce in their way of showing up, or the one that is more graceful. But a dancer has all of these in one, and they can tap into them. And I feel like there's something really magical about dance that lets us into the quantum. I was going to say easier, but it's not that it's easy. It's just that the way that dancing is lends itself to be able to do that. I'm curious if there are other dimensions, other aspects of you that you would want to try to find, to try to tap into, to try to seek. Like, maybe it's an artist of you from when you were younger. Maybe it's something that you've never tried in your life. Maybe it's like the daredevil in you that you've never been. You know, I've shared with you guys the poem by Nadine Stair called If I Had My Life to Live Over, and she talks about how she wished she had been more daring in her life. Like, there are aspects of us that we can actually, we don't need to say that that's just the only us. Quantum theory, actually, like this quantum jumping, is based on the idea that there's no just one us. There's other versions of us that not only are living those other version lives of us, but we can actually seek their guidance and help to acquire the skills and the way that they show up in their dimension for us in this one. This is always like an interesting topic to try to explain, but this is my introduction. Let me know what you think, if you have any experience of this, if you've heard about this, if you think it's completely ridiculous. Like, whatever it is, I would love to hear your thoughts.